about it later. Hi, we're live,
Hey,
and here's Danny.
hi.
And I
Here's
dressed
Nancy
up
Jean.
yes. And since we're um, talking about going back to our very beginnings when we were reading Tarot publicly, I wore my bathrobe in honor of Danny being here. He's abandoned the bathrobe, but it was a cool idea.
So many people still keep calling me. Well, and then there's some people that call me the bathroom tarot,
Mm-hmm.
um, which I thought was pretty funny. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's still going back to people are still calling me that, and I go, and they're bringing it up recently. So that's kind of interesting that you wanted to do this retrograde-ish show going back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know since I had the incident in June that I wanted to change. Oh, Psychic Duck needs to make an appearance. I had actually two
Oh,
people ask me
all
before.
right. So hello to everybody. Hello everybody. Good to see you all here.
Yes, I don't have a Psychic Duck. I have a dragon.
So can I tell, since we're going back to retrograde, some people
Right.
were asking very shortly. I'm just going to hijack the show a little bit.
You can
But
hijack what you want.
people were asking about, well, where did Psychic Duck come from? And Psychic Duck, well, the father of Psychic Duck, he, she, whatever, is
Oh,
Groot. I am Groot. And look,
Groot.
Groot
Mhm.
has a little psychic duck.
Oh, he does.
He does. I am Groot. So that is Psychic Duck's beginning. Some people say, was he hatched? Well, he was hatched in the hand of Groot.
Right.
Okay, so that's the end of my hijacking of the
No,
show.
you can hijack away.
And by the way, we are simulcasting, so please go over to, if you're on my channel, go over to Nancy Jean's and hit a thumbs up and subscribe, please.
Yes.
And subscriptions are always good. It pumps up whatever we're trying to do.
Yeah, and that may be an investigation when we go backwards. How do we end up here?
Yeah. Right. So, going back to the beginnings,
Mm-hmm.
to the basics. I love it.
And when I first started my show, and the reason it's called Nancy Jean's Garden is when my guides told me I was going to do this show, and there's enough people in here, I'm sure, that haven't heard this story, but I woke up in the middle of the night and I was walking through the dining room, which is where my studio is now, and going to the bathroom. And I live on the ground floor and I sleep on the patio, but it's all weatherized, guy. Don't send me extra blankets. And I was walking and there was all of a sudden this giant brick wall. And I go, that wasn't here when I went to bed. And they said, no, these are the voices that talk to me. The voices said, no, paint the wall. And I said, paint it. And I looked down and there was a big bucket of white paint with a big white, like a wallpaper brush. And I painted the wall with the wallpaper brush and the wall disintegrated. And behind it was this beautiful garden. It was a garden with a little bit of everything, beautiful flowers, some veggies, all kinds of stuff. And I said, first thing I said is, what the hell kind of paint is that it's melting bricks? And then I said, where am I? And they said, this is Nancy Jean's Garden. Your assignment is to begin to explain to people how to take their spiritual seeds, plant them in the right soil, and how they can grow. And I said, really? And they said, yes. In these times, this was in December of 2020. So I told my kids, and since I have a computer genius youngest child, Susan, she happened to have a friend who did graphics for the History Channel. All of a sudden I had the graphics of the garden. If you've ever seen my old intro, it was da 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 da, and you walk through this brick wall into a garden. It was exactly what I'd seen. And they had me all set up and ready to go. And all my little things put together. And so in the middle of December in 2020, I flicked the camera on and said, okay, I'm here. And I started the very beginning. I started like, if I was new and just starting out fresh and new and didn't know anything, of course, everything at that point for me was pretty much based on tarot or pendulums.
Yes.
I was already doing my crystal work. I was already building crystal grids, but I didn't know how to turn that into a channel. So I started reading, and I started with one, and I have all the notebooks of all the story ideas, because a very wise lady who no longer works in our community, she said, write down 100 story ideas that you can work from so that you don't ever wake up in a day and, oh my God, I've got a show. What am I going to talk about?
Oh.
So I started with...
You probably listened to that advice.
I did. You did, huh? Okay. And get a temper for what your audience is like and what they need to know. And so I started with the real basics. I started with color. I started with how I got in the tarot. I started with the basics in the tarot. I did like whole show. I did a whole show on the number 1 and a whole show on the number 2. And I talked about the basics of numerology and how it works. Anyway, make a long story short, I'm going back to that pattern, and I'm going back to my roots. And you don't have to wear your bathrobe. We still see it on you, Danny, even if
yeah. See, yeah, they're all in black bathrobes.
I know. You look more like an alien. Well, I was reminding Danny the first time he and I did a show together, I found a picture of a shaman. Not this picture, but it was a Tibetan shaman, and he was in a bathrobe. And I said, see, you just went back to your roots.
It's yeah, and it's funny because I've been well, I don't know if I'll go into that, but there's certain things with shamanism that, you know, you're talking about going back to your roots and where you've evolved to from roots, and from this community that we have that we're part of, because everybody in the audience is part of this evolution,
right?
And the things that I've opened up to from flipping a card is phenomenal. And it's all because of this community that we've created. And so it's there are so many healers out there that are doing energy work, that are coming and helping the whole community. It's phenomenal. And for me, it all stemmed with a wounding of my soul, psychic, whatever, and it got me into meditations, and then it got me back into flipping cards. But I'll tell you, when I first found the tarot, it was more of a, what the heck is this? This is really cool. It wasn't anything spiritual. It wasn't anything that had to do with healing or the interconnectedness of everything. It was just, wow, that's really cool.
Well, you know, I started reading cards when I was 12 at a slumber party. And when you're 12, there's nothing about spiritual or anything that's part of this. It's all cosmic spying. Who's doing what to who and what are they doing?
Yeah.
How, you know, and that kind of stuff. And it's been the blessing for me in my life is that I've always been able to break through the empath part of me, break through the vibrational part of me. And I learned early on, you cannot lie. And especially when you're using any of these tools, you cannot lie. If you lie, you are setting yourself up for big time hurt and big time disappointment. And so I carried that through in my teen years. I grew up in the town I grew up in, and that was what was weird is when I went to college, I was finally in a world where people they didn't understand who I was or how I functioned. And so what happened is the first few days at college, I was totally inundated with everybody's vibrations, and I shut down because I couldn't take it. And because when you start talking to people and you start telling them things you shouldn't know about them because they're complete strangers. I had been around so few complete strangers in my life that if I told anybody something they didn't think maybe I should know, oh, well, they heard it from my mother, or their mother's friend told her friend. There was never any questioning about that. And I found out at my 50th high school reunion, everybody just kind of laughed it off when I said, oh, I'm working now as a table reading psychic. And they said, thank God you finally owned who you are. So you can't really run away from it. And as I was telling Danny, I saw a really good show on Carl Jung today on YouTube. And it was about how empaths are breaking through. And empaths are no longer apologizing and saying, oh, I'm so sorry, or they're no longer feeling they have to carry the burden of being the family healer, the person who takes care of everything. Empaths are starting to walk into their own path. And it was a half-hour show on it. And it was absolutely brilliant. And it also brings up the fact you just can't lie. And so if all of you empaths that are breaking through, yes, it hurts. And yes, it's painful. And yes, it means a lot of people go away. But what you learn in the things I've learned from Carl Jung, when you get rid of the people that shouldn't be there with you, you move on and become who you should be. And I've been under Jung's influence. I got this book when I was in my 20s, I think 20 or early 30s. And it's Jung and the Tarot. If you want to read a book about Tarot, and if you know anything about Carl Jung, and if you don't know anything about either one, this is a great place to start. He talks about archetypes. He talks about all the things you'll hear readers talking about, because what I get from people when I read them is you guys talk about stuff I have no idea what the hell are they talking about. What is that world made up of? And you got introduced to the Tarot through friends and just being around it, right? As an adult.
Yeah.
More or less an adult.
Right. Well, still today, more or less.
Well, we gave you your adult pass today, Danny. So there's 4 books I'm going to talk about.
But wait a minute. I need to go back. I need to hijack a little bit.
Sure, hijack.
Because it's interesting when you were saying that, we are walking around and kind of holding on to our power in the shadows, or that might not be the right word, but just holding on to our power and not really letting it shine. And right. So as empaths, as psychics, and that was really a hard word for me to step into. When somebody called me a psychic, I go, no, I just flip cards, but it's still something that we need to embrace and walk into. And although we think, from my point of view, that other people won't understand us, I think that more and more people today are going, I've been looking for someone to share this information with, and you are opening up. So, wow, I can maybe share this with you. So actually, it's not so much the friends are going away, but they're coming out and sharing a different aspect of them that now we have more commonality with.
Yes. Well, one of the things I know is that an awakened empath is the worst threat to a narcissist, because empaths are raised to serve narcissists and fall into, rather than create a fight. When empaths begin to fight, the world shakes. That's what's changing the world now. And I couldn't have been prouder of this country on the day, on June 14th, that night when I collapsed. And they said, you can leave us. And I said, but I'm curious. I want to see what's going to happen next. So I decided to stay. But the reason they said I could leave that night is because I've been telling everybody for so long, don't let them walk on you. And we walked on them that day. Another book, and the 4 books I'm going to show you, I'm stealing time from Danny. Radley Valentine wrote this book, and it's really a good book. It's a compendium of magical things. And when people say, well, how does that work? Or how does that work? He's got everything in here. He's got numerology. He's got Tai Chi. He's got cards. He's got pendulums. He's got runes. He's got everything. And he also talks a bit about his journey. He also has an autobiography, which if you're a psychic, you can totally relate to, about what he went through growing up in Tennessee as the only, well, he knew he was gay. He didn't know what it was, but he knew he was gay. And he was in this small town in Tennessee, which he got out of, as he says, as fast as I possibly could. And he talks about his whole journey, but this compendium of magical things. If you say, but I don't know what I'm good at, I've suggested this book. It's not a fat book. I've suggested this book to so many people.
Don't fat shame books. No, that's not right.
There are people who will not read a book that looks like a phone book. So,
wait a minute. I gotta say something real quick.
Sure.
I gotta say hi to this psychic.
Okay. Who?
Debbie the psychic.
Okay.
That's all I wanted to say. I'm just poking the bear.
Okay.
Okay. Well, got to get rid of it. There we go. Okay.
Another book I read, and this I read at the beginning of COVID, it's called Inner Size. I don't hear many psychics talk about it, but he talks about how we work our brain. And it's our brain, our mind selves, our beliefs, how we find our own freedom within ourselves. And really, the first half of the book's really kind of the best. And he does what he's actually this was the first book I ever saw that had the beginnings of shadow work in it.
Yeah.
What you're looking at. And like I said, if you read the description of this show, all these books are there. And the last book I'm going to talk about, Danny, and then I'll quit talking about books. This is a fiction book. It's called The Alchemist. And it is a brilliant book. It's about a young man who sets out in the world, and he goes through all of the steps we go through. And he wants to become the apprentice to the alchemist. And when he meets the alchemist, the most endearing part of that book is when you meet the alchemist, you realize that having the power isn't nearly as much fun as you think it is, which is kind of part of it. So we did have, hi, Terry Mullins. Hi, Barb Berkman. Let's see. Vicky. Hi, Vicky. Poor Vicky's in Las Vegas, of all places. Okay, Banner.
Hope she's near a pool.
You are if you're in Las Vegas. Okay, now the name of the show was My Supreme Allies and then your subtle saboteurs. Your supreme allies are all the people who treat your empathic, frequency-seeking self well. And when you find those people, work with them and become part of them. And the subtle saboteur, somebody said, well, who's the basic subtle saboteur? My always thing is look in the mirror. When I read people, it's really what's going on inside of them that they're not letting themselves be who they are. And we do it all kinds of ways. And it's just not mama told me, daddy told me, church told me, society told me, and especially women got it in droves, and so did small boys from Missouri, I'm sure.
Who's small?
Not anymore.
Yeah, we all get that. And it goes back to what you were talking about with the empath's journey. How do you know that? Oh, you're just weird. Oh, you're saying things that, don't make sense. And I was looking at some show where all the kids were beating up on this little kid, and
Mm-hmm.
just because he was different.
Mm-hmm.
I go, wow, that, I wonder if that is going to be shifting in the near future, where we don't have that bully attitude, um, and hopefully we'll get there. But I'll go back a little bit to that inner work.
Mm-hmm.
That is, in today's, in my awareness for today, that is what really needs to happen. And that's where the meditation comes in. That's where the quiet space comes in. That's where the journey, the guided journey, shamanic, whatever you want to call it, comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need to constantly remind ourselves how powerful we are and how we can create things with our imaginations. Because if we are as is above, so is below, and we're
Mm-hmm.
conduit of it, what we think about, we can create in our reality. And so we have to remind ourselves of that a lot.
Right. And there are a lot of different tools we can use to express that.
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of crystals and stones. I use a lot of um, I use a lot of tarot because that's what I've done the longest. I've done it coming on 60 some years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeffrey's book. Oh, that's right, Danny. You do have rights on my channel to do
I
things.
do, because I am linked.
I know we are. Um, Jeffrey's shadow book is really good. Let's see. I happen to have a copy. Right here.
Yeah.
And it works with tarot, and it's just takes it's if you want to do the reason he and I discussed him doing this, and then he went ahead and designed it and built it, is because we had a lot of people asking us questions, and he realized, he said, I did my shadow work privately, and so we went through what it takes to do it privately. And we couldn't find a good handbook. We could find a lot of courses that cost you a lot of money, but we couldn't find a good handbook. So he created this, and it is not expensive. Go to ripecolor.com. And I don't think I have his emails in my thing. But we're going to go to another question now. Okay, this is one I spotted.
I even think he has it in a PDF too.
Yes, he has it, so you can get it downloadable. You don't have to get a hard-covered book. And he's got another companion piece to go with it now.
And there's certain books for me that call to be in print and in page, and then there's others that you could.
If it's on the screen, I can follow.
Yeah, yeah. So I think pay attention to what is calling you to get a hard copy or a PDF soft copy.
Right. Do it. Anyway, Evelyn says she went through that too. I was 40 years old until I found out I was empathetic, and I thought my feelings, and it was an awakening for me. I sent out white light energy and have seen spirits, and she ends up seeing spirits that have been with her since she was a baby.
Yeah.
That's the thing you'll find out. A lot of the power that's been around you is leading you to this point.
So what was the very first guide, and how old were you?
Oh, that I had a name for?
Yeah.
I was 67 years old, and her name was Addie.
Okay.
They were around me, pushing me, but
yeah. But what
had,
about when you were a child?
Oh, I talked to things that weren't there and stuff.
Okay.
But
And who was do you remember the first person person in your mind's eye that you talked to that nobody else could see?
Yeah, she was a fairy.
Okay.
And I was a little kid, and and of course I made her look like Tinkerbell in my mind's eye because that's what fairies look like.
Okay. Cool. Back to the elementals.
Back to the element, yeah, and they kidnap me. I do them too. And this is a lady who was lucky every morning. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm so grateful. Mom told me not to lie because the truth will find out because it's true.
Yeah.
And
it's too hard to lie. You have to keep everything in order. And I can't remember anything because I have that CRS.
mm-hmm.
And it makes it too hard to lie. So just tell the truth and then you don't have to worry.
Then you can see clearly what you saw.
Yeah.
I can't call myself anything other than an empath, and that's fine.
Oh, I know, but I just called her a psychic. Yeah.
Well, you used to wear bathrobes, so she can be what she wants.
CRS, can't remember shite.
That word. Okay.
That word.
I knew it in high school. I just remember that weird shit happened when I was around, and now they ask me questions about it. I was very fortunate when I was growing up. I grew up in the same town for 18 years, and my best friend had been my best friend since we were 3, and we were in kindergarten together, and we graduated together, and we almost went to the same university, except she wanted to go to school in Indiana, which sounded like a very cold place to me, and I didn't go. But and she became one of the first women airline pilots in the U.S. commercial airline.
Oh, probably DEI hire.
She was at the time. They told them get women in those cockpits.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. This is
I was just again poking because you don't get to be a pilot because of a DEI hire, even though
she flew helicopters. Her mother was a pilot. Her mother was a shuttle pilot, shuttling arms around during World War II for the Air Force. And her mother flew. I remember flying in their family's small little puddle hopper planes, which made me violently ill, which is why I didn't do it. But my friend had a helicopter license when she was 18, and her whole adult life she kept flying and flying and flying. And finally, in our 30s, she had enough flight hours. And mind you, she was against a generation of Vietnam people who had a lot of flight hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think there's certain things that go with female versus male. For me, that male energy, it's all generally speaking locked in a box, and the female energy is more free flowing and more empathic. And when you get into a situation, let's say at 30,000 feet or 10,000 feet up in the air, and something happens, would you rather have some guy flipping a book in his head going, what's the solution for a situation like this?
Mm-hmm.
You rather have somebody empathic going, the right thing to do to get us out of this situation.
Yes.
And I think that's who I would want. And so I want to have that female pilot in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Linda Bishop says, my experience has always been open to others with my psychic abilities. The problem has been they want me to get in and stay in the closet. Okay, that's your saboteurs.
Yeah.
When they say that, you say, no, accept me where I am outside the closet or else. I mean, that's your choice, but that is how we beat that rap. And okay, here's the lady. I just started realizing last year I'm an empath, and I felt different my whole life. My husband says I always wear my heart on my sleeve, and even when I was little, I always wanted to make people feel better. Okay, Maureen, you're at the beginning of being an empath, but when you're truly an empath, you choose to do the things that help you the most. And we're, especially as empaths, we're taught, oh, no, that's greedy, that's awful. But the only way we can help and really empower other people is when we do what's best for ourselves. So if we surrender part of what we should be doing to try and pull someone else up, that doesn't work. You got to comment on that, Danny?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So often we are always giving up part of ourselves for something. We have to really honor our ourselves. I guess I do have something to say. We really have to honor ourselves in where we are. For example, today I was supposed to do a journey session with Sandra Ingerman, who is an amazing shamanic practitioner,
Mm-hmm.
and I just wasn't in the space for it. And so I didn't do that. She's always talking about, if you're not there, don't hog up the airwaves. Just, it's going to be recorded. You can go back to it later, and
Mm-hmm.
you can step into that space where you can actually join in with the healing, with the information, whatever. But I would have fought that whole information. If I would have joined in on that, I would have hogged up the space. It wouldn't have been good.
And you why would you want to take negative or chaotic energy into a place to where you're supposed to be healing?
Yeah, why would you say my energy was negative this morning?
I was saying you're describing negative, but
yeah.
okay. And
No, I was joking. Sorry.
no, I know.
But it was negative. So why would I do that? So
Well, I can tell you right now today, if I know there's a lot of astrologers out there reading things, but Dorothy Morgan did a great analysis of today. And today, starting about 3:30 my time, I think it is, for 6 hours, because of how the moon's passing across them, because the planets are all kind of there, the moon is going to be placing hard and soft aspects. It's going to be schizophrenic out there energetically, especially about our own emotions. And you may have had a dose of that early. She said it can start early.
Maybe.
If you're not, why should I want to waste time on something I know I need to focus on when I can't focus on?
Yeah. Right. And that leads me to another question, which is, well, I'm never focused. I'm always too scattered, especially these times with all this information that's bombarding us all over, and so my answer to myself is turn it off. Turn off all the outside stimulation and give yourself a chance to breathe and relax into your own heart space, so that because what I find is happening is so much of what others want me to think and feel is being thrust into my awareness, and it's not what I want to feel or think. So it's just outside stuff, and the media and YouTube is really good at that. So we get to choose. We should choose what we want to listen to and what we want to turn off.
And if you go to somebody you normally like to listen to, and you can feel triggers going off in the back of your mind or inside your body, turn it off. They will not be personally offended.
Yeah.
Don't turn me off. I will be personally offended. But
I was going to be personally offended. I was personally offended by your comment right there.
Well,
hey, can I just show you a quick? This is just for this time that we're in.
Yes.
I have a buckle up bumper sticker for y'all. So here it is. There it is.
Oh, that's cool.
Buckle up. Makes it harder for the aliens to suck you out of your car. My hillbilly sister-in-law got me all these alien things.
Oh, weird.
They're very fun.
But they're funny. They're good humored. She's accepting something that's part of your life. That's good.
She doesn't know anything, well, at least I don't think, she hasn't admitted to it, anything about my channel, my intuitive side, my psychic side. That was really hard for me to say. So well, it'll be interesting to see when she goes, oh yeah, I watch. I've seen you.
Yeah. Well, we have a sincere question. We're going to throw in the mix here.
Serious. Read
My
it.
pet Junior is really sick, and I'm not sure what to do. I've emailed the vet. He is hyperthyroid, and I've been giving him his medicines, but I do not see him getting better. Thank you. Well, Rita, you're doing the first thing you can do because you've had a vet who's seen him. I'm not a pet psychic, but I'm willing to pull from this oracle deck, The Sacred Forest by Jung. Have you ever seen it? It's pretty.
Do I have that too? Oh, I have Tree Keeper's Oracle.
Yes.
And I do have a Healing Oracle, so I'm going to pull that.
Okay.
You have Sacred Forest?
Yeah.
Who wrote that?
Do
you know?
Yes. Denise Lynn.
Okay. So here's mine. And this is Stephanie Law. Oh, written by Angie Sullins. Art Stephanie. Okay.
Yeah. Denise Lynn is part of the Hay House, a bunch of people. And about Radley's books, they're going to have a sale. They always have one at the end of the summer, a really pretty good one. So you might want to go get on their mailing list. So if you want to check their stuff out, and their stuff is really, they have good sales. But Spirit of the Guardian of Summer expansion. In the sacred forest, the spirit of the guardian has arrived. Large clumps of purple berries hang from the vines. Its vitality, health, success, abundance, and healing are passions that are expanding in your life. However, you just can't sit back and wait for it to happen. I think you're going to have to go talk to your vet some more and make sure you've got the right things going on. If you hold back and repress how you feel during this time, you can become drained and your spirit is less responsive. Work with passion. Don't hold back. Take positive steps in the direction of your dreams. And I know my cat's got something that's an old cat thing, and we're working on what it is. And it can be hard to figure them out, Rita. And my feeling is that you'll know the right thing to do for him. And I'm not saying it's to let him go, but you need to be more in touch with your vet. I got a feeling there is a medicine out there. What you're giving him isn't strong enough, or the dose isn't right. So go, Danny.
Yeah, I got cleansing, and the very first thing that I heard, and again, I'm not a pet psychic, but what I heard was diet, and so I would look to see what kind of foods trigger this hyperthyroid, hypo. I don't know. I have one of those things, and I know that I'm not supposed to eat certain foods, so just pay attention to that. Also, just have the tree oracle that I got was, I don't know if you can see this. it's keeper of inclusion. And this card references just allowing you to be and feel everything. And so if this is a time for you to let this cat go, then energetically just love it and be as compassionate and kind and do what your heart says is the right thing, not so much what your head says. But I really feel like it's a dietary thing that can.
That's what I got a feeling it's something's just not balanced quite right. And if it's the thyroid, that's a tricky thing for humans, much less cats.
And, just going back to, the hardest thing that in the most loving thing that we can do is to let one of our companions go. And it's brutal. It's so hard. When we had to let our dog go recently, and recently I meant that was like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. It was so hard, but anyway,
they're not put here to live and suffer so that we can have a companion. They're put here to be when they can be a companion to us. And since we have control over, if they were out in the wild, it would be taken care of relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, this is notes from Celtic Seer. We all need to stop going along to get along. Groupthink is dangerous. Why MAGA and other groups have influenced society in not a good way. And that's true.
That's false.
Well, we're not thinking like a group, are we?
Well, we are. We are. So, in this community, we are thinking as groupthink. I think we're thinking more from our heart space and using that for our decisions versus our head space. So I think that there is a group think for us, but it's compassion and love versus how can I make another $1 billion?
Okay. When I think about groupthink, I think about if I choose to take a stand and make a statement, the easiest thing to do as a reader, and this is really the truth, is to tell people what they want to hear, because the questions they ask you will tell you what they want to hear. And when I used to read at table, I told people what the cards told me. I didn't tell them I had a couple who was absolutely sure I could come get whatever demon they thought was in the basement of their garage. They were sure I could get it out, and it was just me limiting myself. I'm going, no. I have a right to pick things.
Yes.
And so, I could go not fix their basement and collect money off of them if the deal is the money. So, no. And it's not just that we all think alike. It's what do we expect when we do all think alike?
And it's, speaking our truth, which is, it may be in alignment with the group, but we can't just repeat talking points if that's what she means with groupthink.
Oh, no. Yeah, no. Oh, trust me. I worked in the Democratic Party. I know. And you had a guy who said the Democrats need to quit explaining things and begin to show potentialities. And that's true. In all worlds, whether it's the psychic world or the spiritual world or a job situation, when you speak possibilities, not just what you think the answer they want is, then you can grow, and the situation you're in can grow. And Barbara says, we will not seek exploration. And the end of our exploring will be to arrive where we started and know the place for the first time. Oh, that's T.S. Eliot. I can say that sounds like. And that's true. And we need to keep exploring, even if it's going to take us back where we thought. Because sometimes when you see it with fresh eyes after you've taken a journey, that's what The Alchemist is about. This guy takes a journey, and then as he goes through each phase, you see how his view and your view of the world is opening up. And here's somebody who's making a move. I rent from Red Hat neighbors, landlords, has this dementia. Things are falling apart. Got to go north. This place is truly doomed. Well, you just need to go north what's good for you, because as long as you tied your outcome to them being doomed, that's a sabotaging statement. Yes? No?
Where's she living?
Somewhere in the south.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and sometimes, it's just, there's so many, so let's say, you can live near the Red Hat people, or you're living near the Red Hat people and you're struggling with that. Okay, but then something else happens. Okay, and then something else happens, like the landlord with dementia, and things are falling apart, not getting taken care of, and maybe abusive words. Then it's time to go to make sure that your space is clean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I just saw a comment, and I'm trying to find it. My little mover thing's not working around. It was from Debbie, and she said, "Am I the only person who had 3 cloaked figures standing at the end of my bed when I was a child?"
Yes.
Yeah, because that wouldn't have been my bed anymore.
No, you're the only one.
You're the only one. They came just to see you. No, they came to see lots of people. I just would not have stayed around. I've talked to some friends who grew up in haunted houses, and I'm like, there's no way in hell. I guess if it's important to eat, you stay there.
So, and that goes back to, taking back your power, or realizing your power, or standing in your power, however you want to phrase that. When there is, and here's another thing I want to get to, so don't let me get us forget. Okay. I want to talk to you about initial protections. But
okay, yes.
what we have in our mind's eye, in our imagination, in our psychic realm, is the ability to say no.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come in here. So if you have somebody that wants to blend with you, a spirit guide or whatever, you can say no. I don't want that. There are people that are doing a lot of, they're opening, from my experience, they're opening up to a lot of new pathways. And some of it is channeling, some of it is trance work. And if you don't want that, just say no. But if you do want it, then I think I'm seamlessly integrating this.
Going back to your original comment, yes.
Yes, there seems to be, there is a way that you can protect yourself from any dark energies sneaking into a journey.
Danny, this is important. We're at 222 people watching. 222 when you start this. This is an important conversation.
It is an important conversation. I didn't need. I haven't gotten there yet. I've only got 220.
Oh.
So we'll wait.
We were two more than that. Somebody went away.
Oh, dang it. During that important conversation. Anyway, we still got double twos. The protections, as the veil gets thinner, as the old white guy energy, as I call it, is losing its grip more and more, they're gonna start trying to claw a little bit. I'm sensing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to make sure our protections are up. How did you I'm going to ask this two different ways. How did you in the beginning set your protections up, and how do you do it now? Is there a difference?
Yes. When I was younger, all I pictured around me was an egg, like a one-way mirror, so like I could see out, and their energy couldn't get in. It was that.
Okay. Okay.
How do I do it now? When I got wheeled up from the ER and got put in what was going to be my room at the hospital, the first thing I said was the violet flame, and I violet flamed the crap out of that room. And if you don't know what the violet flame is, go to my website. You'll see a folder called resources. In the resources file is the violet flame. And it's where you call on Archangel Zadkiel, Ascended Master Saint Germain, and a bunch of angels. And you have them go through every existing thing in that room, every cloth, every piece of metal, every piece of glass, every paper, whatever's in there, and to go through and find low and discordant energy that could cause strife, energy left, the sheddings of chaos that have been left there. And in hospital rooms, they're big on sheddings of chaos. And I had them take that up to this is in the prayer, you take it up to the center of heaven, and I call it God's laundromat. They run it through the big ringer of the Christed white light, and they clear out all the bad stuff. And they bring back your washed laundry all folded, like when you take it to the laundromat. And they spread that energy back out in the room, so you're not taking energy away from the room. And after I did the violet flame, I called in Archangel Michael, and I asked him to bring his big swords, and I gave him permission to cut every single cord, including the ones connected to my kids, because my kids had left me at the hospital very frightened that they weren't going to see me again. And I said, cut all those cords, so the only cord I'm responsible for are the ones inside of me. Mm. And that, when you're an empath and you finally say, cut everybody's cords, get rid of them all. And the Archangel Michael, it's to move his sword just above, below, to the left, to the right, to the front, to the back, and take this away and free you. And as soon as I did that, just as I was going to bed, I called them in to turn out all the lights, and because I could not get out of bed. Well, I was too hooked up to shit to get out of bed. And I said, what time is it? And they said, it's 4:44 in the morning. So it was clear.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm surprised at the people in the chat now. Nobody has put up a great big God's washing machine emoji. Unbelievable.
I've never seen one. My Christ of White Light laundromat. I ought to go in AI and have that made.
That's so funny. Christ of White Light laundromat.
Yeah, it's Christ of White Light laundromat.
So we were looking the other day for a great big washer so that we could throw our comforter in. Mm-hmm. And I imagine the great what is it again? The Christed White
Light laundromat.
Yeah, I imagine they have a great big huge washing machine.
I've actually seen what the washing machine looks like. Dallas County Jail went to people that make laundry machines, and they wanted one big enough to do, so they didn't have to have like 12 of them to save money. They have the biggest. I've seen it. I've been in the jail. I not because I was in the jail. I was touring the jail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sure. But I saw it, and it is the biggest washing machine you've ever seen in your life. It takes like 4 people to load it and unload it. So,
wow.
But that's what I sort of always imagined, taking all that energy.
Yeah, and so getting back to that prayer and to that energy, mm-hmm. It's that's so cool, because you just imagine all your helping spirits mm-hmm. going around checking things out. Mm-hmm. You don't. It's like you don't have to do it. You just have to watch them.
Right.
And they do it. They do it.
They want to be there to help you.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I started out, mine was similar to an egg, but it was the golden white light coming down from above. So I'd start off with the light filling my body, going through the chakra system, and then I got this image. It just came to me of this white light coming around behind me, and it was angel wings, like encompassing,
Right.
which I'm going, ooh, I like that. Thank you. And then I got like that Gore-Tex sensation too of things not being able to come in, but what I'm sending out, the white light, can go out. So it was a one-way filter type thing.
Right.
And then recently, I would say within the last, I don't know, last year, 6 months or something, I've been doing something similar what you did in the hospital, with checking things out and being, okay, check this out. And I would do an inventory of me, of my system, what's being not, I don't want to say attached, but what is being not spinning correctly. So I just doing some regular healing, cleansing work that a lot of Reiki people
Go through. Well, they have
do
to.
all the time. And since I'm not a Reiki person, this is something I go, oh, this is kind of fun and cleansing and healing. So we're all moving through different awarenesses at our own speed. But I like that you had to go through all the different rooms, because I don't think they would allow you to burn sage in the hospital.
Not when you're on oxygen, no. No, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
And if you go get the violet flame, it has for rooms, for houses, for cars, for businesses, for self, for you, and they also have how to put yourself in a golden tube of light, which you might find interesting if you.
And now we're at 222.
We're at 222, and
as soon as you said go the violet flame again.
And I'm getting a lot of comments from people. If you've known you've had abilities, look at different things and watch different readers and come back to my channel, because that's what I'm going to be talking about. Is so you've got your foundation, you know where you are.
Well, the other thing too, going along with that we've been tapping on here, is the synchronicities, repeating numbers. And even though you may not know what the 222 number means in angel terms, or whatever, and you can go to Google. I think it's best to get some basic knowledge and create your own, or tap into your own guides and ask them what. But pay attention to all the synchronicities that are happening, and because everything's interconnected in my anyway. And so if something is showing up for you, that is interconnected to what you just thought, you just think. And so dig into it a little bit more. It doesn't mean that you need to take a 6-month study on the number of 222. Then again, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't. You'll figure it out as you go through that.
And
synchronicities.
Right, synchronicities and things that will become important to you and you will learn. And one of the things I'm going to bring back is there's a couple of people that I started working with right when I started my channel. And they now have their own channels and they're doing their own thing. And some of it's in stuff I certainly didn't teach them. I didn't teach them galactic astrology. Trust me. I have enough trouble with stuff on this place. And Lord knows I didn't even try to teach Danny Shay anything, because he knew it all.
Yeah. Who's that? Who's that guy again?
The guy in the bathrobe.
Yeah, the bathrobe guy.
And
The
I can tell
bathroom
you,
guy knew everything.
I'll tell you how I know Danny wasn't in it for the money. If you ever went to his page on YouTube, all the banner ads around would be bathrobe companies. And Danny never, I guess, approached them to get a cut of that. But I just thought that was
I never noticed that.
I should have told you. Then you'd be far richer and you wouldn't even be talking to me.
Really? Dang. Dang.
Well, anyway, so
It's
a
the
lot of
duck.
people,
JL, you're right. It is the duck.
it is the duck. The duck's the duck.
Yeah.
And people are commenting and giving each other all kinds of wonderful advice. And Mary, good to see you up. Mary McSorley's up and about and typing today.
You know, I know we're at an hour, but let me end. Well, you can end.
No, you can end it, Danny. I started. You can end it.
So when people are giving advice, and when people are, you have psychic mediums telling you this, that, make sure that you listen to your own heart space.
Mm-hmm.
It's for us to discern whether it is true for us or not. A lot of times we will give information off of a 2-second tap in, 15-second tap in. And I don't know if that is, I know it's not the best way. It could be, you could get some information, but make sure that you do your own discernment with it. You take it at face value.
Yes.
Because it is entertainment only.
Right. And I'm seeing questions in here. There's someone who has a husband who has dementia, wants to know if people can communicate with them. There are people who do that. I am not one of them because I have to have someone who can interact with me. But keep looking, hon, and maybe somebody will pipe up.
There is, and that's another important thing. We each have our skill set, or the that resonates more with us, and so yeah.
And anyway, I'm trying to see if there's anybody that says somebody thought they were agoraphobic. Well, if you went outside, you're not. I wallpapered and painted in a house with a woman who was agoraphobic when I ran my house company, and she kept finding rooms for me to redo because she wanted company. And I finally told her husband, this room doesn't need redoing. And she was lovely. And she lost it in the middle of an airport, and they brought her home and she never left.
Oh.
And lots of good advice from people in the comments.
Yeah.
But like I said, I will be doing on my Tuesday shows will be either people I've worked with or who I was in with them early when they were developing their skills. And Danny was an old hand when I met him.
I feel like a baby still.
You always will. I don't think any of us have it licked, have it done. And for people, there were questions about what's going on in the big bad world that's covered in news. And
it's exciting. Here, in case you guys forgot, buckle up.
Yeah, it makes it harder. That's true. And the other thing I wanted to say is last week at this time, I talked about some information I'd heard about the Vatican. And I got some feedback from a friend of mine who said, Snopes says it's not true. Well, when I read the Snopes said it wasn't all true. It all hadn't been put it out in papal, whatever they have to do. But the majority of it's true. And this Pope's making changes. So I'm sticking by.
There's huge changes coming, and if we look at one of the things that you said that's just rang so true. When you look at the news and you go, oh my gosh, and you start getting triggered by it, or however that works for you, put it aside, come back to it a week later and see if it's still relevant to you, still important to you.
If it's even still in a headline, if you can even find it anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of fast moving parts here. There's a lot of hurt and anger. And some of it is ours, some of it isn't. So,
well, anyway, blessings on all of you and everyone who came in here.
Thank you, Sharon Sipe. Thank you, the moderator. She was awesome.
Yes, she was. She put up our websites and
always
everything.
Is. Yeah, yeah.
And I will.
Hey, Foggy.
And
yeah.
I've got my tarot class. I've got my garden class, the first official. Last 4 trainings on the Oracle Garden starts tomorrow night. And then after that, on Thursday, I have my tarot class. And so follow this channel. I'm going to be here for a while. I also want to say thank you to the people who have thought well enough of me to send a little money my way for my GoFundMe. It really has helped because that was not cheap. 5 days in the hospital on oxygen.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we should do a fundraiser for Nancy Jean.
Well, you can do whatever you want. I really appreciate it. I had people sending me money before I was even out of the hospital, but thank you very much. And there is an official GoFundMe, and you can find it, I think, on my website. Anyway, I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
And this is